if you are part of a company being acquired, I just want you to realize that there's a better than 0% chance a lot of you are going to be asked to leave, right? There's going to be redundancy. Lots of times companies, the acquirer is doing it to have meaningful earnings per share growth. And unfortunately, the reality of the game is headcount is the most is the quickest way to add to the bottom line. So for folks out there, if your company is acquired, realize that your chances go up. Recessions, they happen. A surprise layoff can happen. We're going to talk to someone who unfortunately has had such an event happen. We're going to get the full backstory, and we're going to talk about how he is moving through this. Tony, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Mike, on
That's
this
awesome.
great morning.
There you go. Well, first off, I thank you for reaching out. I think it's important to just have honest discussions, even when that discussion is not necessarily good news. A surprise layoff is never good, never fun. Um, being you went to work that day or you had a plan, and
hmm
suddenly the chair was kicked out from under you. So why don't you just tell the audience what happened and then how you are kind of moving through all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a little backstory. I spent 10 years in the U.S. Army as an engineer officer, graduated from West Point, also had my master's, courtesy of the U.S. government. Thank you, all you taxpayers, for helping me go through that great experience. And as I was transitioning out of the military, I joined a internship program to help military veterans go into civilian workforce. And I landed a great role at Blizzard Entertainment. Awesome experience. Never thought like 14-year-old Tony would have like graduated West Point, Eagle Scout, spend at least 10 years as an engineer officer, go to different places throughout the world, and then land a role at Blizzard Entertainment. I remember spending so many hours on Diablo 2 and World of Warcraft 3, or not World of Warcraft, Warcraft 3, and going through that.
Yeah.
Then we got recently acquired by Microsoft. Thought it was
Right.
going to be a great experience. And the day prior to me being laid off, I believe Microsoft had become one of the most valuable companies in the world,
Yeah.
according to their stock evaluation, what they were going through. And I had given this presentation to help program and project managers on how to communicate more effectively within our organization. Next day, boom, 1,900 of us laid off.
Mm. Yeah, that's a tough day, and a couple of things for folks out there. When if you are part of a company being acquired, I just want you to realize that there's a better than 0% chance a lot of you are going to be asked to leave, right? There's going to be redundancy. Lots of times companies, the acquirer is doing it to have meaningful earnings per share growth. And unfortunately, the reality of the game is headcount is the most is the quickest way to add to the bottom line. So for folks out there, if your company is acquired, realize that your chances go up. So sorry that happened to you, Tony. You get that notice. What happened next?
Yeah, fortunately, they gave us a 3-month notice. So while we were notified in late January, it was until the end of March that we were technically laid off. So, and then also gave us a severance afterwards too. So for those next 3 months, I am just sending all these different resumes, doing all these applications, reaching out to different people, nada. And then 3 months go by, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm laid off.
Mm.
And then I get to spend some time with my 15-year-old month-old daughter, just
Mm.
going to the park with her while my partner is going to do some work at a family home situation as a nurse. And I'm just like, this life is not that bad. Yeah,
Say this doesn't suck.
no, it doesn't. And the most fortunate thing is that at the same time I was exiting the military back in 2022, also got into real estate investing.
Mm.
And so that really um, helped quite a bit in my finances because, you know, my income is much higher than my expenses. and then suddenly it's the opposite
Yeah.
direction. But it's
So
not zero.
let's it's not so let's talk about so you just got into real estate in 2022. I'm
Hmm.
guessing a house hack, but that's just a guess. What were we doing?
Uh, I was house hacking before I realized I was house hacking.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so after my divorce several years ago before this event, so
Hmm.
probably around 2018, I invited my parents to live with me. I live up in the Pacific Northwest
Hmm.
near Joint Base Lewis McChord and had this house that I was renting at the time.
Hmm.
It's a big house, and my parents were in a different situation. They were downsizing, and I was like,
Okay.
why not move up here? You've always wanted to live in Washington State. We have a lot of family on my father's side up in Canada near
Hmm.
here. My father's from El Salvador, had a lot of refugees and asylum seekers live in the US and in Canada.
Hmm.
And to be closer to his mom, my grandmother, and like, why not move up here? And so they moved in with me. And
Okay.
it offset, that rental cost before we actually moved into a home that I
Mm.
own. And so I was accidentally house hacking for that time.
Okay.
And then I learned about real estate investing. And then I'm
Hmm.
like, you know what? I'm going to house hack a duplex for a little bit and then
Nice.
fully furnish out both sides so that I could do midterm rentals.
Ah, okay. Okay. All right. So 2022 is in 2022, that's the purchase of the duplex. Was that what happened?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So 2022, you buy a duplex, you do owner occ, so you move into one side, you rent out the other
Hmm.
in the beginning.
Yes.
Where at that point, what was it like? Was the other side covering the mortgage because rates were pretty low, or where what happened to your living expenses at that point? That just that first couple of months.
Um, Drastically changed everything. I
I
mean,
was as always.
as always, right? Um, and so I had priced it where it would cover most of the mortgage, at least
Right.
one side, because
Right.
midterm rentals do substantially better. And I
Hmm.
had met Dion at that point
Hmm.
as well, because he's living up here in the Tacoma, Washington area. And I was like, I'm going to do what he does, but spice it up a little bit because a little more energy, a little more time, and decide to go midterm rentals.
Okay. I like it.
And covers most of the mortgage. One side up here in the Tacoma area, one bedroom, one bath, $2,500 a month.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's
Damn.
during like the summertime ish. And now obviously everything has gone up because of inflation. So
Right.
now it's during the summertime I get about $2,700 a month with Airbnb. And that's like
Mm.
my payout.
That's your cut.
Yeah. That's just
Okay.
one side. And my
Right.
mortgage is about 2,700 because I got it right when rates were going up. So
Okay.
I closed in May of 2022, but I locked in my rate in April
Ah, there you
of
go.
2022, right when rates were going up, like at 4.65,
Nice. That's awesome.
which is good
Oh,
now.
absolutely,
Back
it's good.
then, people were freaking out. So like everything dropped.
Yeah.
This was about those couple of months prior to everybody was still trying to outbid everybody.
Hmm.
But then I came in right when rates are going up and nobody put in a bid for that property. I was like,
I
yes, I'm
love.
the only one.
Yes, exactly. I love it when the market changes and everybody pulls back because that's when we could. That's when doing the work matters. That's where you can create good deals and make some moves. So okay, so you get in, you live there, you're basically living for free or almost free.
Hmm.
When did you move out and turn the other one into a midterm as well? What year was that?
Same year,
Okay,
2022, a couple of months later.
all
Uh,
right.
and now both
And
sides are renting
where'd you
very
go?
well.
So where'd you go?
Uh, Back to my house where my parents live in.
Oh,
So
okay,
remember, I
okay.
purchased that
Yep.
single family home a couple of years before,
Right.
moved back in there,
Got it.
and like, yeah, they're offsetting the cost on that house.
Hmm.
I'm still covering most of the mortgage with my W-2 job. And I'm
Right.
still also in the U.S. Army Reserve. So I have two W-2s,
Oh,
have those
nice.
house hack and other
Okay.
rental income.
All right. So where does the story go from here? You have the house. Now have a duplex, both midterm rentals. You're
Hmm.
probably netting a couple grand a month, which doesn't suck. Where do you go next, Tony?
Then I start operating other people's Airbnbs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so army buddy of mine, he lives in Hawaii now with his girlfriend.
Nice.
He had been for a little bit. He had a couple of rentals out here in Washington State. And he's like, Tony, I see what you're doing over here with this. Why don't you run it for this ADU that I have? I'm like,
Okay.
sure, I'll do it. He had for probably about 9 months, he had fully renovated this pool house that
Mm,
he turned into a ADU, one bedroom, one bath in the same zip code
mm.
right outside the base. And I was like, I want you to do what you're doing with your place with my place. And I'm like,
Okay.
I can do that. Fully
Done.
furnish it, make it decorated myself. That's one skill I never thought I'd have leaving the military as an engineer officer is learning how to interior decorate.
Interior design. Yeah.
Apparently I do it well enough where many females, that's who I was targeting, mostly females who are
Uh-huh.
travel nurses and or traveling couples with pets. It's one thing I know that Dion really hounds on,
Mm.
quote unquote, hounds on having pets in your
Yep.
rentals. I allow any sort of pet, just no puppies.
Got it. Yeah.
And nobody has really, no pet has really damaged
Yeah.
anything. It's been
Yeah.
going well for 2 years-ish now,
Okay. All right.
and it's been going well with that. And so now I operate other people's Airbnbs. I take my cut and I
Yep.
just do everything for them
Nice.
and
Nice.
have
Okay.
that little cash flow. It's, considered active income. It's not passive income,
For sure.
but it works out until the
Okay.
point where I was laid off and my income is no longer zero,
Right.
but it's not the same as it was, but it's not zero.
Okay.
And that's like the saving grace, I would say, during the experience until I got hired on as a consultant is,
Yeah.
just working those little pieces, those little wins until, yeah, I'm not FI yet,
Right.
but the saving grace of getting into real estate really, really assisted with that.
Yeah. So when I look at this situation, and I kind of break it down for the audience, right? First and foremost, if you're out there and your only source of income is your W 2, is your job, that is an extremely risky situation to be in, right? So I would argue the most risky, especially in a recession, especially if your company gets acquired. I mean, it's just like the risk level should go through the roof. Second, uh, the opportunity to house hack or take your largest expense, X taxes, and bring that down, if not to zero, to something, meaningful is a cheat code. It's just a freaking cheat code. Second or third, I guess, figuring out the model that works for you, whether it's long-term rentals like Dion being the lazy landlord, whether that's midterm rentals with, furnished Airbnbs for travel nurses in your case, uh, finding what works in your market, your buy box. Awesome. Third or fourth, the idea that you could take your experience, document success, and then have others say, "Hey, can you give me some of that?" Like your friend in Hawaii. That's awesome, right? That's the big thing to me is I've always told people document your journey because when you do that, eventually, and it won't take very long, you'll have opportunities to monetize that. Now, in my case, it was raising private money. In your case, it's creating another income stream. Um, but yeah, it just unlocks so much so that if you do get that unfortunate layoff notice, it's not the complete disaster that it could be. It's never fun, but it's also not a complete disaster. Is all that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. And to expand on number three, like documenting your journey, I didn't do a whole lot of documentation, but what I did was sharing my story with
Yeah,
other people,
exactly.
um, emphatically. And I would go to different real estate meetups all the way from Olympia to Seattle and Bellevue, which is like a whole hour and a half difference
Mm,
depending upon traffic up here. If you know the Pacific Northwest, I-5 can get congested during those travel times during rush hour. But I would go to 2, 3 times a week, go to different real estate meetups and meet with different people and talk about these things to where people know you, you sharing your
mhm.
story and sharing that abundance, like
Yeah.
maybe not in money wise, but in value, in
Yeah,
whom you are as a person and what you can provide to the table.
that's exactly what it's all about. This is not about being a secret agent. Tell everybody. Tell everybody what you're doing, right? And if you're just starting out, tell everybody. Don't lie. They'll figure it out. But if you have something that's working, tell everybody. Go to meetups. Like one of my 7 rules is meet 2 new people a week, right? Tell everybody your buy box. Tell everybody what you're doing. Ask questions. Be a good human. Listen more than you talk. It's there's a lot of value in that wisdom. So where are we today? So paint the picture today. It sounds like you got a consulting gig.
Yes, I work as a consultant at PACCAR, the
Okay.
long haul truck manufacturer in their IT department,
Hmm.
and helping develop a new product that they are developing with their trucks. And so,
Okay.
something I never thought I'd be doing again, working for a vehicle manufacturer.
Mm.
But it's an interesting experience working in that and learning and getting to know how hardware integrates with software. It's a
Nice.
very different dynamic and
Hmm.
place to be, but it's very flexible and allows me time to go to my meetups,
Mm.
be paid fairly well,
Nice.
and doing what I love and getting to where I need to be.
Right. So you have a consulting gig. You still are doing reserves. Is that right?
I am, yes,
Okay. So you're in the reserves. You still have that one duplex that's fully furnished midterm rental,
that I do.
and you still are helping your friend who lives in Hawaii. That's still going on.
Oh yeah. And he's
Yeah.
actually said he wants to partner on another deal. So it's just like finding the
Ah,
right
see.
deal to partner in on to like make it work because
Yeah.
he knows the value proposition of living in a high cost living in area that
Yep.
everybody wants to live in that has
Yep.
very diverse economic drivers that
Hmm.
is very much expanding. So it's
Very
like, let's
cool.
try to
Very
find
cool.
another place. Got it.
Nice. All right. So now we know where you've been, where you are, where are you going? What's next for Tony?
Paying off some of my credit card debt that I incurred during that time because like I said, while it was inverse now trying to get back to where my income is higher as it was and paying off that credit card debt
Are we
and
talking
work
10 grand plus, or what are we talking?
yes
Okay. All right. So you
yes
have some work to do.
I
Got it.
do have
Okay.
some work to do but also like taking into consideration what Dion said I think a couple of weeks ago in one of his videos was yeah, like one of his buddies, like, yeah, I have all this debt. It's like, well, start saving for investing too. Just pay the minimum what you can, working for your next investment. And I'm like, okay, need to do that. So
Mhm.
looking for my next house hack, and a lot of homes have come on the market and or staying on the MLS for a
Sitting on the
very
market.
long time.
Dude, the market's going to get really slow, I think, which is going to mean the people who pay attention, who follow up, who know the numbers, who write disrespectful offers. I just want to, I mean, I suspect if you do what I think you'll do, you're going to be tracking the market. You're going to write some disrespectful offers. You're going to get one of those, just like Dion did, but you're going to have to follow up 3, 4, 5, 6 times because they're probably not motivated the first time. They get a
Hmm.
little more motivated the second. And if somebody has to sell, I mean, there are people because I talked to Beth Traverso, top 1% agent there. I talked to Dion. Sometimes they just got to sell, right? They want to go to see their grandchildren, or they want to whatever, and they own it free and clear. At some point, they're like, just get rid of this headache. Yeah, it's coming.
It is coming fast, and it's interesting too, depending upon the small multifamily property or even single family homes. So like I mentioned, my partner works in healthcare at home living facilities,
Mm-hmm.
usually a single family home that's been modified. And a lot
Yep.
of those are coming on the market because the
Mm.
something if people are working looking into that area too, is that because a lot of boomers and then older generation is looking to retire, but they can't because it's so expensive right now to retire. They
Yep.
can't, and they can't move out of their homes, or they can't afford those expensive to them, uh, at-home nurse to come and take care of them. And so a lot of them are either staying at the home that they lived in and or living with family and having family help them. They're not
Mm.
moving to these facilities. They're not moving to these single family homes that have been converted. And a lot of these single family homes have actually come on the market because they're not profitable anymore at the
Yeah.
way that they were looking at. So it's also a thing of thinking, what is my exit strategy?
Yep. I
And
like it.
coming down to having multiple ones. And I do this with my video with Dion, is that it's something as a risk, um, not divert risk, but to lower my risk. I always
Mitigation, risk mitigation.
mitigation. Thank you. That's a great word for it. Is mitigate my risk by always pricing the houses I'm looking at for yield
Mm.
is looking at that Section 8 pricing.
Oh,
If I
perfect.
can't get that Section 8 pricing and it's not profitable,
Don't do it. Yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
That is control the downside. I wish more people did that. A lot of people in real estate focus on the upside, appreciation, value add, discount. No, 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 no. You've got to control the downside. So if you can at minimum cash flow with an acceptable yield at Section 8 and everything from there is gravy, genius. Just absolute genius. Love that.
Yeah, and their coastal Section 8 are always going up. And like in my area, BAH, basic allowance for housing is going up because
Mm.
soldiers need a place to live. If you're like me, like military and or former military, you're living near a big base as well. A lot of bases do not have enough housing to
Mm-hmm.
accommodate all the soldiers, airmen, Marines, Navy, Space Force people in that area. And they have to go look in the greater area that's around them.
I love that.
And
I love
if you're
that.
living in this area, there's just they're missing housing by tens of thousands.
Uh, so let's kind of wrap this up. So if you were speaking to a white collar employee, all they have is their job. That's all they have. What are some tidbits or advice? I guess we can assume they have some interest in real estate. What's some advice from Tony to them that they should think about doing over the next 6, 9, 12 months? What would you tell someone like that?
I would start with look at themselves. I mean, you have gone back and said, what is my level zero?
Mm,
And look at the next couple of steps, taking that mindset of what Mike Zuber talks about, what Dave Ramsey talks about, and any others, like what are my steps I need to get to that place?
right.
Engineer, so I'm always very systems minded. What is the process? How do I get there? Is it something I can do? If other people have done it, I can do it too.
Exactly.
And having that mindset, I think, is probably the base of the level zero,
Yeah,
right?
I love that. I just want to echo one thing. One of the reasons um, One Rental at a Time YouTube channel exists in the format it exists with all the millionaires that come back each week is because you never know which millionaire is going to click with somebody. Because I have a story that's amazing, but it's only my story, right? Anna Kelly, different story. Jonathan Twomley, Dion, Matt. It's just that's one of the things I love about this channel is so many people are willing to give us an hour a week to continually share their story. Casey and just the list goes on and on. So, all right, I love that. I love that to start with. Where do you go next? Let's give them one more piece of advice.
Where to go next? Understand what the process is and do not be afraid to take those next steps. But I'm very much ambivert, so I like having my alone time.
Mhm.
Also, like that extrovertedness, I need people time too. Just don't be afraid to pick up the phone. Doing that
Yeah.
millennial thing and just picking up the phone and just calling somebody because you never know if you're going to have it make a great connection, made
Mm.
a lifelong friend, or have your next deal and making things happen.
I love that. I love that. So I guess I'll close with this, kind of put a cherry on top of the sundae. When you look at the plan, when does FI kind of seem realistic to you? Have you kind of looked at that and think about when you might get there?
I have my plan right now is within 6 years,
I love that.
be FI. That's about the time I'll be 20 years with the military time period with
Genius.
the active duty plus my reserve. Unfortunately, reserves, like you cannot tap into retirement until about 59 and a half, depending upon
Okay.
how much points you get.
Mm.
Um, but like that is my plan, is
Okay.
get there that quickly and just
I
really
love it.
working backwards because that's one thing they teach us in the military and some leadership and management systems too, is knowing what the big plan is and doing
Mhm.
what's known as reverse engineering, backwards planning. You have your goal. What are the steps, not just to get there, but from that point of view as well? And I know I need to have this much. how do I get to that point working backwards? And so it's
Love it.
also working both ways and understanding that process, talking with people like Mike, Dion, and many others, and figuring
Yeah.
out what works for you with your personality, your resources, and your time and your family situation, and having that support system to get you there.
Love it. And of course, folks, if you don't know what FI is, it's financial independence. Didn't want to just throw acronyms around. Tony, if somebody wanted to reach out, follow you, do you have a social media present we can point them to?
Yes, I do. So you can come join our group on Facebook, Tacoma FI.
Oh,
Dion
nice.
started that group, but I pretty much run it for him now because he is the
Nice.
lazy landlord. He's like, I'm going to pass it off to somebody else,
Go,
right?
Dion.
You can come meet us there. I'm fairly active on that Facebook group. Come meet us. We are usually meeting the first week of every month. If you're
Nice.
local in the area, you can always reach out to me there. You might see Millennial Mike on there too sometimes. I know he's been
He's
AWOL for the
crazy
past
busy.
couple months, but he's
Yeah.
super crazy working night shift and doing all the things he's doing. So you might see
Yeah.
him there, but also a great group of people who just love to chat, all regular people who want to make it to their lifelong dream.
I love it. Tony, you're amazing, man. Thank you for reaching out. Shout out Dion, Millennium Mike, and everybody else. Take care.
All right, see ya.